always let them in. I'll just kind of like I'll let you just
Congressman, what do you want to say to AG Merrick Garland?
well, that'll do for me. But we're still wanting information. That's how you have checks and balances on government. People,
Okay. Thank you for joining us today. We feel that this is a historic occasion. We came here to the Department of Justice with questions that we have been asking and sending letters about for months. We also gave notice here at the Department of Justice that we were coming to ask our questions, and as you can see, we weren't even let in the lobby. Now, as members of Congress representing districts with hundreds of thousands of people, it's unbelievable to me that the Department of Justice will not let us in their lobby to even answer our questions. Questions that we've been asking. What intelligence was available prior to January 6th regarding the influx of people into the District of Columbia and their intentions? You see, we already know that intelligence knew. They knew ahead of time that there were threats of violence. And I have to tell you, as a freshman member of Congress, that was the fourth day on my job, January 6th, and I was shocked, absolutely shocked at what happened at the Capitol. And even more so, I am shocked that with the intelligence that there was going to be violence, that the National Guard was not present on January 6th. On January 5th, we know that there were pipe bombs at the RNC and the DNC. There's a video of the person that placed them there. And I'd like to know, and we're asking the question, with that great threat of violence, pipe bombs at both places, RNC and DNC, why was it not taken seriously? And why wasn't the National Guard brought in? Those are the questions that we have. Also, when the Capitol Police requested to Nancy Pelosi on January 6th, asking her office, asking her for the National Guard on January 6th, why wasn't that request made? Why did the National Guard not come in to protect the Capitol Police and all of us inside? You see, currently there's a January 6th committee happening with Nancy Pelosi leading it in some sort of manner where she doesn't want Republicans that are picked by the minority leader placed on the committee. These are all good questions that we should be asking, and I'm happy to be joined with my colleagues here. We want to know, how are the detainees being treated inside the jail? We would like to know many other things. And so at this time, I'd like to hand over to the next person.
Hi. Yep, we have gotten reports about mistreatment in the jail, people being shipped to jails all over, and it is important to know the conditions in jail. We've asked for an opportunity to inspect the jails. Back when I was a felony judge, I would show up unannounced at jails or prisons because I needed to know what kind of treatment people got that go in there. And when you have people that will probably be arrested here for disorderly conduct, we need to make sure that the jails are treating them properly when they're arrested. But we condemn any violence, and I would have no problem at all if I were still on the bench sending anybody that participated in violence, theft, any of the trespasses that knowingly did so, I'd have no problem sending them to jail. That would not be an issue. So we got to make sure that people like this here that are acting disorderly, that they're treated fairly when they get to jail. We have been asking for months for meetings with the Attorney General. We have asked in letters to the D.C. jail and been refused. The D.C. jail prison are under the auspices of the federal prison system, and yet we've been denied that. They want no oversight. They don't want to give information, and yet there are reports of people being held and demands for admission of guilt, and they have not been shown the evidence against them. They've not been shown the exonerating, exculpatory evidence as required by law. So there are a lot of problems going on here. Now, for anybody that, for example, is out on bond and then calls in nasty messages to the pretrial release, I got no problem sending them back to jail for sure. But we still need to know, do we have political prisoners here in America or not? And we can't get an answer. And I was taught in the Army that normally no answer is an answer of no, or an answer that, yes, what you're concerned about is happening, so we're not going to answer. So in any event, that's why we are here. That's why we would come out and subject ourselves to standing up for people. Whether they've done right or wrong, they deserve to be treated properly. We're here standing up for due process. And I have fought for due process all of my professional career. I don't know if there's anybody else in Congress that has represented a defendant who was sentenced to be put to death and who represented him for the highest courts and got his case reversed as I did. And as I told the court, the highest criminal court in Texas back when I argued his case, look, I'm here to make sure that we have due process, that people that are brought to trial have an opportunity to have a fair trial, to get due process, to see the evidence against them, and to actually see any exonerating evidence. Didn't happen in that case. His case was reversed. So I'm here just to try to see that due process is done, and I'm pleased to be standing with other concerned people from Congress about what is being happening. Are we housing political prisoners? We need to know the answers. So with that, I would turn things over to my friend Matt Gaetz.
Honored to be here with my colleague Louie Gohmert from the House Judiciary Committee, and we're wondering why questions that have been asked by colleagues for many months have gone unanswered. Perhaps there are reasonable explanations for why the Attorney General hasn't been forthcoming with information regarding these particular detainees, but as folks representing all Americans, we think that we've got to get those answers. Antifa and BLM set fires to this country for months, and we did not see an interest from federal law enforcement in those claims. But now there are Americans all over this country who are being harassed, who are being targeted by law enforcement, and if there's a basis for that, then we need to make sure that we get it, and that's why we're here answering these questions. Honored to be here with my colleagues, and would now turn it over to Congressman Paul Gosar.
Thank you, everybody. I too am happy to join my Republican colleagues and demand the answers to very troubling reports that the Biden administration and Justice Department are mistreating nonviolent prisoners arrested in connection with January 6th. Let me make this perfectly clear. I deplore violence. That's why I've asked for the 1,400 hours of tapes to be released so that we can hold those wrongdoers accountable and those vindicated when they're innocent. Over 6 months have passed. Nearly 200 of these individuals remain separated from their families. There are disturbing reports that some of these prisoners are being abused and held in solitary confinement for up to 23 hours a day. These are not unruly or dangerous violent criminals. These are political prisoners who are now being persecuted and bearing the pain of unjust suffering. Individuals arrested for illegal acts on January 6th deserve to be treated fairly. We are here today to demand that all evidence gathered by the DOJ be produced. That's why I have constantly, and I reiterate, asked for the 1,400 hours of tapes to be released so that we can hold people accountable and vindicate those that are innocent. The public demands it, and it's the defendants deserve equal justice under the law. How is it that those that are not even citizens get better treatment and have due process at Gitmo when they don't have it here? I also want to ask, where is the groups like Amnesty International, the ACLU, and Human Rights Watch? I'm here with my colleagues, with my members for oversight, to actually ask for those questions and have oversight of our prisons. Thank you for attending, and now I turn it over to Mr. Biggs.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I am delighted to be here with my colleagues on this important issue. You know, it wasn't too many weeks ago that we had a hearing in Congress where the FBI director addressed the January 6th issue to some extent. He mentioned that there was the vast majority of people who were peaceful protesters. Then he said there was a smaller group, a much smaller group, that entered the Capitol and committed what we would consider technical crimes, things like trespass. And then a very small group that attacked the Capitol Police and vandalized the Capitol. As he said at the time, in response to a question from one of the congressmen from California, he said, "I can't call this an insurrection." Why? Because I am bound to have legal definitions. An insurrection has a legal definition. So he said, I can't call it that. It was very, very interesting to me to hear that testimony from Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI. And just moments ago, I came from a hearing in Congress in the Crime Subcommittee, in which I'm the ranking member. And in that committee hearing, we were talking about fines and fees and how they can be excessive and how they violate the due process rights and put people on a collision course of reoffending. I find that very interesting, juxtaposed to where we are today. What we have here today is a group of congressmen and women who have asked questions, who said, look, we really want to know, we want to get to the bottom of it, how are these individuals being treated while they await their day in court? Some are being held without bail. Some are reportedly being held in solitary confinement for no rational reason. So it leaves us to wonder, are their rights being protected? We've got to recognize there are due process rights for everyone. Everyone. I would expect it for those who I politically disagree with. I would expect due process rights to be invoked for the most heinous of criminals because we rely on the rule of law in this country. Everyone is to be treated equally and similarly before the law. All have their day. And we've asked questions, and they've been ignored. They've not just been ignored by the Department of Justice. We've asked questions of other agencies about other issues. They've all gone ignored. That is why we're here. We're not here to do more than say, give us the answers to the questions we've asked. Let us know that due process is going forward. Let us know that these people are being treated appropriately and fairly and humanely. That is not too much to ask from the United States government, the United States Department of Justice, the United States Department of Prisons. I thank you for being here. I hope that we can get answers to these questions very soon. Thank you. I'll turn the time now over to my friend, the Congressman from Virginia, Bob Good.
You know, we see another example of the intolerant left who doesn't want to allow you to hear speech that they don't like. And this is an issue that I've been asked about by my constituents around the district over the past several months. Why don't we know what's going on with the folks who've been arrested from the January 6th incident? And so we're here today. We requested a meeting with the Attorney General. And of course, we didn't get that meeting. So we're here today with my friends and colleagues seeking one thing, transparency. And I agree with my friend Congressman Gohmert that the events on January 6th were simply appalling. Despite what the media will tell you, everyone here today condemned the lawlessness of January 6th while also defending the constitutional rights of those who were here peacefully and lawfully protesting. So we're here today demanding answers to serious questions. that the Department of Justice has ignored over these past several months, despite repeated inquiries from my colleagues and other members of Congress regarding the treatment of the January 6 defendants. In this country, there should be no question about the legal treatment of an American prior to the opportunity to answer the charges brought against them before a judge or a jury of their peers. Due process must be afforded to all Americans, period. Sadly, many questions, serious questions, previously presented by my colleagues have not been answered, but have been completely ignored by Attorney General Garland and the Department of Justice. While it's clear that Attorney General Garland may not be in a rush to respond to us, what is his answer to Defense Counsel Marty Tankleff, who said of the treatment of January 6 defendants, "This is not normal. It's not normal to isolate people and make them eat off the floor." Mr. Tankleff would know this because he would know what normal treatment is in detention because he was in prison for almost 20 years before being exonerated for a wrongful murder charge. Should we ignore Mr. Tankleff? Should we also ignore Senators Warren and Senator Durbin, who both expressed concerns about the accusations regarding January 6 defendants that they were in solitary confinement? I'm pleased that some federal judges have intervened on behalf of some of these claims of mistreatment, but there's no substitute for complete transparency in our justice system and the protection of the public trust. Let's remember that back in March, the Department of Justice had to be reprimanded for discussing matters concerning this investigation and speculating on potential charges with the media, with prosecutors even being threatened with a gag order. I cannot remember that happening previously, where the Department of Justice had to be reprimanded to not speculate on the media regarding a high-profile case. It's unfortunate that members of Congress have received only silence from the Department of Justice regarding the treatment of these defendants based upon concerns arising from statements made under oath. Yet the Department of Justice has not speculated or has not hesitated to speculate about this investigation to their friends in the media. I thank Congressman Gohmert, a former judge no less, for his commitment to the rule of law and to seeking the truth, even in the face of much opposition. Thank you.
I want to say one thing. First of all, to the guy that's blowing the whistle, we are not deterred. And so for anyone that's here being an activist and yelling today, here's a statement that I need everyone to understand. We will not back down. We will not stop asking questions. We are looking for the truth. And we believe the truth can be found by reaching out and answering and asking the right questions to the right people. Listen, there's another thing. The taxpayers of this country pay all of these people's salaries, and they owe the people of this country the answers to the questions.
We need a break.
Okay.
The left is interrupting the press conference. We need to end it.
Thank you. For those of you that really care about due process, thank you.
Free the January 6 prisoners! Free the January 6 prisoners! Free the January 6 prisoners! Marjorie Taylor Greene, a fucking weirdo!
Are you sure?
Why are you a pedophile? Hey, yo, why you a pedophile? Why you protecting a pedophile?
Shit, where did my
nasty fucks.
Shit, where did my lens? Hey, stranger.
All of y'all protecting some pedophiles. Y'all some nasty fucks. So much to picture. We do know that. America first! They're American citizens! Free our prisoners! Free our political prisoners!
And those would show precisely what anybody in jail did or didn't do. and they will not release them. They want them to agree to plead guilty before they see the evidence that could exonerate them, and that's really unfortunate.
What has the response from the Department of Justice been so far?
The response
Discovery
has
is
been
a trial right,
There's
Congressman.
been no response.
Discovery is a trial right. It's not a plea right, it's a trial right. If they want to go to trial, they can see the evidence.
Don't know what they're talking about. He's saying they have no right to exculpatory evidence until they get to trial. He's foolish. He doesn't understand. You don't get exculpatory evidence from the prosecution at trial. Ask Ted Stevens. They hid the exculpatory evidence. And I'm very concerned that that may be going on again here. That they're trying, they may be, I know there's some people that are guilty, and even the guilty deserve due process under our law.
Several members.
Yes, yes, hey, yes, hey! Yes, indeed.
And I've got additional concerns because they and her only tie was a text from her nephew about, gee, was this picture you getting around because she was at work in East Texas. And then two FBI, she said laugh out loud, don't turn me in, and FBI showed up. The only time for January 6th. So they're very serious concerns about the Department of Justice violating rights. So we're going to move on. Thank you very much.
Trump ribbon and running around out here, right? Yep, yep. I thought we made Trump about DC.
I hope y'all all hear about DOJ violating
Damn. What's going on, DC? What's going on, DC? We gotta come together a little bit more, baby. We all here in the city together, you know? So we gotta unite a little bit more. Yes, indeed. Well, let that groove hold one time for me, y'all. Here in the peace move, though, right? We got out here on the BS. We got out here on the BS. We out here on the peace move. Y'all stop that. Take that one time. Hold on. Listen up, y'all. We ain't out here on no joking and no BS out here, y'all. We ain't out here on that. We definitely not out here on that, y'all. We ain't out here to be chucking, fighting, arguing, pushing around, slapping around. You get what I'm saying? We not out here to be doing none of that, man. So please, man, y'all should shake hands, hurl or something. All that, man, that's not necessary right there. That's definitely unnecessary, man. We don't need that. We definitely don't need that. DC ain't definitely ain't about that at all, man. We gotta stop that, good folks. We gotta stop that.
You couldn't get her though.
Let's get it, y'all.
No, of course not.
We love y'all, DC. If anybody tell y'all they love y'all today, man, CTV, we love y'all.